Welcome to the European Association for Higher Education Advancement's YouTube and podcast channel. Today, we're going to be tackling a question that I know a lot of you guys out there are thinking about.
Yeah.
Should you work while you are studying at uni?
It's a tough one. It really is a dilemma, isn't it? Trying to balance those two huge commitments. I mean, it can feel like you're walking a tightrope.
Absolutely. To help us all figure this out today, we're going to be looking at some research from the European Association for Higher Education Advancement. We'll just call it the EAHEA for short.
Yeah.
They're all about, boosting quality and innovation in higher ed across Europe. So they definitely know what's going on with students.
Yeah, and what I really like about their work is they don't pretend this is a simple issue. They acknowledge that there are both potential benefits and drawbacks to working while you're studying, and they get that the right answer really depends on the individual student.
Okay, so let's start with the good stuff, the benefits. I mean, the most obvious one is financial right.
Oh, yeah.
The EAA report mentions that a part-time job can really help cover those essential expenses. Things like tuition, textbooks, rent. Maybe even a pizza or two when you're up late studying.
Right, and having that financial independence, it can be a huge stress reliever, knowing that you're not only relying on loans or your family to get by. And think about what it lets you do. Maybe you can afford to go on that study abroad program, the one you've been wanting to do, or take an unpaid internship to get some experience in your field.
That's such a good point. It's not just about getting by.
Yeah.
It's about thriving. And speaking of valuable experience, the report also mentions that working can give you skills and knowledge that you just don't get from textbooks. It's like you're getting a real-world education.
Exactly. Think about it from the point of view of an employer. You're looking at two resumes. Both candidates have good grades, but one of them has also had a part-time job while they were studying. Who are you going to call for an interview?
The one who can manage their time well, which is another benefit that the EEHA highlights. Juggling a job and your studies can actually make you a time management master.
Yeah, it's like a crash course in prioritization and organization. When you have to juggle a lot of commitments, you learn to schedule your time effectively. You have to meet deadlines, and you can't procrastinate. These are skills that will be useful forever, no matter what you do, whether you're climbing the career ladder or starting your own business, or even just trying to keep your own life organized.
So it sounds like working can actually make you more productive.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that. I do remember, though, that I felt super stressed when I was trying to balance a job and my studies. And the EAHEA report does mention that increased stress as a potential downside.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's so important to not downplay that. Chronic stress is really bad for you. It can really impact your mental and physical health. It can mess with your sleep. You can't concentrate as well. And it can even affect your immune system. And it can lead to burnout, which makes it even harder to focus on your studies or enjoy your work.
So is there anything students can do to reduce that stress? Any strategies to try and find a balance?
Absolutely. I think it starts with being realistic about what you can handle and setting boundaries. Maybe that means working fewer hours or choosing a job with flexible hours or maybe even saying no to some social events.
So it's all about being mindful and making conscious choices instead of letting things pile up until it's too much. The report also mentions that working can have an impact on a student's social life. It's all about that work-life balance, right?
And that's a valid concern. University is a time to explore new things, make new friends, have fun. If you're always working, you might miss out on all of that.
So it seems like there are trade-offs. You gain some things, but you might lose others. It's all about figuring out what's most important to you right now.
Exactly. That's why the EEHEA talks about the importance of being honest with yourself. Before you take a job, ask yourself some tough questions. Why do you want to work? Can you really handle it? What are you willing to give up? And what are your non-negotiables?
That's great advice. It's all about making a decision that you feel good about, one that works with your values and your goals. Honestly, when I was in university, I just took whatever job I could get. I didn't really think about any of that stuff.
Well, yeah, a lot of students are just trying to get by. They can't be too picky about their jobs. But even if you're in that situation, it's still so important to know your limits and to prioritize taking care of yourself.
That makes sense. So we've talked about a lot of different things here, from the financial benefits of working to the potential for stress and giving up some of your social life. It seems like there's no easy answer.
You're right.
There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
The decision of whether or not to work while you're studying, it's a really personal one. And it depends on so many different things.
So where do we go from here? What are some of the key takeaways for our listeners who are trying to make this decision?
I think the biggest takeaway is there's no right or wrong answer here. It's all about what works best for you. You know what I mean? Your own situation, your goals, your personality.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's not about following some set of rules. It's about making an informed choice, a choice that works for you. What are like the top 3 things students should be thinking about when they're making this decision?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, first, you gotta be honest with yourself about what you can handle. Like, really honest. How much can you deal with at once? Are you someone who can multitask and do a million things at once? Or do you need to really focus to get stuff done?
So know your strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. Second thing to think about is your money situation and your goals. Do you have to work to pay your bills? Or is it more about having some extra cash? Or maybe saving up for something? And think about how working might affect your studies. Could it mean you graduate later? Or would that extra income help you stay focused and on track?
It's like weighing the pros and cons.
Yeah, totally.
What would you say is the third thing to consider?
I think this one often gets forgotten, but it's super important. Your well-being. Don't forget about sleep, exercise, eating healthy, and just having some downtime. Burnout is a real thing for students who try to do too much, and it can really mess things up, not just for your grades, but for your happiness too.
That's so true. Sometimes saying no to that extra shift or to going out is actually saying yes to yourself and to your long-term success. It's all about setting those healthy boundaries.
And the EEA report also mentions that universities can do things to help students who are working.
Yeah, and that's a great point. More and more universities are realizing that a lot of students are working, and they're starting to offer more support. It could be stuff like having more flexible class times, online resources, special study areas just for working students, or even financial aid that takes your work income into account.
So it sounds like people are realizing that working students need more than just words. They need real support that makes a difference. Exactly, and I think that's a really good thing. If universities and students work together, they can create a system where students can get job experience without it hurting their studies or their well-being.
So everyone wins. Now, we've talked a lot about the individual student, but I'm wondering about the bigger picture. From a societal perspective, are there any benefits to students working while they study?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think one of the biggest benefits is that it helps connect what students learn in school with the real world. When they work, they get practical skills, learn about their industry, and build their professional network. So when they graduate, they're more competitive in the job market and better prepared to be part of the workforce.
So it's not just about individual students then, it's about a more skilled and productive workforce overall.
Right. And there are other benefits too, like working students are often putting money back into their local economy, and they're gaining a better understanding of what it means to work, the challenges and the rewards. And that can lead to a stronger work ethic and being more responsible with money.
It's like they're getting a head start on adulting.
Yeah, in a way. And they're becoming more financially independent too, which can help their families and even reduce reliance on government assistance.
So there are benefits beyond just the individual student.
Exactly.
It sounds like there's a lot to gain for both individual students and for society as a whole, from encouraging and supporting students who decide to work.
I agree. And it's important to remember that work doesn't always have to be a bad thing, like a burden or something that distracts you from your studies. It can be a chance to grow and learn and develop yourself.
That's a great way to think about it. But of course, there's still challenges. Like we talked about burnout and the impact on social life.
Yeah.
And the need for more support from universities.
Yeah, definitely. It's not about pretending those things don't exist. It's about looking at this whole thing in a balanced way, recognizing both the good and the bad.
I like that. I feel like we've really learned a lot about working while studying in university. It's a lot more complicated than I thought it was.
I agree. It's definitely a topic that deserves a lot more attention and conversation. In the end, it's all about giving students the tools they need to make the best choice for themselves.
So let's imagine for a minute that we could snap our fingers and create the perfect work-study environment for university students.
Okay.
What would that look like?
Fun question. If I had that power, I'd create a system where work and school actually work together instead of against each other. Universities would have flexible schedules and special support services just for working students, and they'd offer paid internships or research assistant positions that connect to what students are studying.
That would be amazing. What about employers?
Employers would be more flexible about student schedules and offer part-time jobs that actually give students real skills and experience. Instead of just busy work, they would see student employees as an investment and be willing to mentor them and help them grow professionally.
So it would be a win-win-win. Students win, employers win, and society wins because we have a more skilled and well-rounded workforce.
Exactly. It's about creating a system where everyone works together. And students can succeed in school A&D at work without sacrificing their health or happiness.
Now that's something worth working towards. Maybe with enough awareness and effort, we can actually make that happen.
I hope so. The benefits would be huge. It's definitely a goal worth fighting for.
Well, I think we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We've really explored what it means to work while studying in university. I bet our listeners have a lot to think about. What's the most important message you want them to leave with?
You know, at the end of the day, it's a personal decision. And there's no right or wrong answer. There's no shame in choosing whatever path feels right for you, whether that's working or just focusing on your studies. The important thing is to be intentional about it. Set boundaries and take care of yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. And don't be afraid to try things out and change things up if you need to. What works for you in your first year might not work in your final year.
Exactly. It's all about adapting and finding that balance, between work and school and your personal life. And hey, remember, there are people and resources out there to help you. Talk to your advisor. Go to the student support services. Even talk to other students who are working. You don't have to do this all alone.
That's such good advice. It's all about building that support system and using the resources that are already there. So to wrap things up, let's leave our listeners with a question to think about. Thinking about everything we've talked about today, what kind of work-study balance would be ideal for you? What kind of work would actually give you energy instead of draining you?
And as you're thinking about that, think about how universities could do a better job of supporting working students. What kind of resources or programs or policies would actually make a difference? Would it be more flexible class times, dedicated study spaces, maybe even financial aid packages that factor in your work income?
Those are some really great points. If you want to learn more about this topic, I highly recommend checking out the European Association for Higher Education Advancement's website. They've got tons of great articles and resources on student life and higher education.
Yeah, it's an amazing resource for students, for teachers, for anyone who's interested in the future of higher ed.
Please don't forget to follow the European Association for Higher Education Advancement on YouTube and social media.